Welcome to the MIDI Association Accessibility webinar. My name is Haim Kairy. I'm from Arkana Instruments, and I'll be hosting this event. The event will be scheduled for about 45 minutes, and we're going to be hearing from Juho Tamanian, a PhD student from Finland. He's the chair of the MASSIG group. MASSIG is an acronym for Music Accessibility Standards Special Interest Group, hosted by the MIDI Association. We'll hear from Tim Yates from rwxMusic in the UK about a recent Sony Hackathon, accessibility and music tech. We'll hear from Jay Pocknell from the Royal Institution of the Blind in the UK. He's also with Sound Without Sight. And he'll be discussing accessibility in mainstream products and a few other developments in music notation. I'll demonstrate a work that we did in the MASSIG group with Bettermaker. Bettermaker are manufacturers of high-end studio gear. We created a demo for showing how to turn music instruments and music tools, make them more accessible by adding voice feedback and voice control. I'll also be showing a bit about the design process of Arkana Strum, my company's accessible music instrument, showing how it was designed from the ground up to be accessible. And lastly, we'll hear a few words from Mike Kent from the MIDI Association Executive Board about what the MIDI Association is doing with accessibility and with MIDI 2.0. And we'll end with a few questions from our audience. Juho couldn't join us today, but he recorded a message about how this group got started.
Hello, I'm Juho Tuominen and would like to introduce this project. And what we have so far accomplished. I wrote first about the Music Accessibility Standard Special Interest Group to KVR Audio Forum, and then in 2023, from January to May 3rd, I had discussions with Nathan Lilias, the then president of the MIDI associations, and the group was formed and approved by the MIDI association, and our first meeting was on May 3rd, 2023, and we have been meeting regularly ever since. We've had a lot of development and learning on the way, and we have had conferences, ADC 2 times. We have been in UK, and our representation has also been in the NAMM show at the US, for example. We have done some user stories as part of our project on how users could see accessibility. And then we have other projects also related to it, such as working with other institutions and organizations. All of this you will be hearing during this webinar, and I'm looking forward to the future collaborations that we are doing, and it has been a pleasure to be a chair of MASSIG and opening this webinar. So the next person, the virtual stage is yours.
Thanks, Juho. So at MASSIG, we meet every 2 weeks or every week. We're a team of musicians, producers, technologists, and teachers discussing the latest development in accessibility in music products and music instruments. And we try to connect musicians with manufacturers and to solve problems with accessibility. We also lead projects of demo concepts to try to show how to solve these problems. And hopefully these demos turn into more mature products and specs that are approved by the MIDI Association technical standards boards to be implemented in the future into music instrument products and production tools. The MASSIG group also plans and hosts events and conferences and expos around the world, like NAMM, Music China, ADC, Audio Developers Conference, and others, with a panel of experts and manufacturers about accessibility and inclusive design in music instruments and other music tools. And I'm happy to introduce Tim Yates from rwxMusic to tell us about the Sony Hackathon. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how you doing? You all right? Okay, so the Sony Hackathon, well, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about rwxMusic. We're a national organisation in the UK, been going for about 30 years, working at the intersection of music, tech and disability. We believe that everyone has the right to express themselves creatively through music, and so that's our kind of central mission. We're particularly focused on using tech and ideas to open up access to music. Our vision is a world where disabled and non-disabled musicians work together as equals. So that's the kind of central kind of thrust of what we do. The really most important idea behind everything we do is something called the social model of disability, which I won't talk about now because it's a reasonably long topic, but it is something, it puts the disabled person at the heart of the process and really is actually central to everything that we do. We do lots of different kinds of work. We support disabled musicians with residencies, commissions, career development opportunities, workshops and ensembles. We are advocates for the disabled community. We do training, and we also run a research innovation program, which is what I'm responsible for. As part of that, we develop instruments ourselves. We run grassroots events called DM Labs, which are about to go national, bringing technologists and disabled musicians together. And we build partnerships with all sorts of different organizations to kind of open up accessible instruments. And in particular, our long-term project is building a comprehensive accessible musical instrument collection. I'm talking today about the Sony Hackathon, which was an amazing event, happened in September 2024. And the reason I'm talking about it here is because it really was a kind of incredible collaboration between lots of different groups of people. Something that as part of the MIDI group, I think is really an important thing to encourage. It was industry, Sony Group Corporation funded the project and led it. rwxMusic are their accessible instrument development program, but we also had a para orchestra. We were involved, Watershed in Bristol, and My World, which is a coalition of academics and academic institutions, really gave the event a lot of different perspectives and inputs. And as a result, was incredibly productive, bringing lots of people into the room that otherwise wouldn't ever get together. The format of the hackathon, we had 6 teams. It was 3 days, and each team was led by a para orchestra musician. It's really important that co-design is central to what we do. The musicians themselves need to lead the way. They need to tell us what they want, and then we can go build it, and the other members of the team can go build it. So that's how we structured the event, around those 6 teams meeting the particular requirements of a para orchestra musician. And we made sure every team had a mix of Sony engineers, academics from the universities in Bristol, along with creative technologists and instrument developers from our community. I think we're now going to share a video about the event.
Candle is the feeling of being alive, the energy that empowers others, and something that is shared around the world and brings people together.
It's not often actually that musicians get to collaborate with technologists at this level and with each other.
I think it's really important to work towards a world where disabled people and musicians are involved in musical instrument development right at the research stage.
This is a project really about bringing people together from different backgrounds, different cultures, different professional expertises, and it's something that is allowing us to come up with some really exciting new ideas.
それぞれの国はそれぞれの国の良さがあるんですけれども、やっぱりそのイギリスで感じたのは、すごくこうアートとしての音楽の捉え方がすごく私たちにとって勉強になることと、
Some people cannot play due to their abilities, but if we can focus on their character or individual and we can customize the instruments for themselves, then they can join the session by using that instruments.
There's so much kind of fuel and fire and passion in the room that it makes it really, really exciting. And you know that what you make isn't necessarily going to be the perfect thing that you always wanted to make. But actually, that's quite a freeing thing.
It's an ongoing process to unpick, what do we mean by music? What do we mean by technology? Where is the interface between the two? How can we use that to create powerful experiences and to tell stories?
What we're doing in a very gentle, kind and compassionate way is ensuring that the voices of disabled people are being heard, not disabled people being passive recipients of something that Sony does for us, but actually in on the co-design. It's about disabled people being leaders.
This is really a unique moment when we are suggesting each other what could be the possibility for the future accessibilities.
私は普段いろんな人に対して作ってるんだけれども、今回は、スティーブのために作ってるっていうのは実は初めての体験で、これでスティーブのために作ることでスティーブが満足してくれたら、もしかしたらもっと他の人も喜ばせることができるかもしれないっていうふうに、期待してます。
I see this as pioneering work. A new discovery. And new creative possibilities.
Restrictions and constraint is the best source of creativity, and I guess these guys have it embedded in themselves that they have those constraints and things they have to compose with, so they can probably take this technology where no one else can. So
I think we're realizing something quite fundamental today about how the future could be. It could be like this. The world could be more accessible. The world could be more inclusive. That's what it's about. It's about good music.
Fab. So that's just a brief overview of what happened. It really was an amazing few days, and I think the outcomes of it were many. There were lots of, I think 5 or 6 really strong long-term projects that are still being worked on came out of it. Lots of new relationships were formed, and also relationships between people who would otherwise never meet. And so the opportunity for an event like that really is to build those relationships over the long term. All of the people there are going to think differently about accessibility and about what's possible from every single perspective, which is really incredibly valuable from everybody's point of view. What's technologically possible, what the different requirements are, and those ongoing partnerships hopefully will just continue to bear fruit over the years, and they're continuing to bear fruit over time. We kind of feel that this model, bringing these different groups of people, really is powerful because in 2 days you can really solve important problems. These are tractable problems, and they can be done. It's just a case of getting the right people in the right rooms together to do the work, and to do it with co-design and social model at the heart of it really means that you get solutions that work. So that's it for me. Whistle stop tour of the Sony Hackathon. If you want to learn more about our work, then have a look at our website. Get in touch with us on socials, or always feel free to email me. I'm always happy to chat about this stuff. Okay, so I hope that was it. That was interesting.
Wow, what an amazing event!
Yeah, that was great.
I hope it's the first of many to come, and to see some instruments, interesting new instruments coming out of those hackathons. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great model. It's something we're really keen to do more of, and I think hopefully part of the Media Association is well placed to do this kind of work. I think so.
Great. So thank you for that. Tim will be back with us in the Q&A, and let's get Jay Pocknell. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Haim. Thanks very much. Yeah, so Jay Pocknell here from RNIB and Sound Without Sight. So I'm going to share a whistle-stop tour again of some of the biggest accessibility developments in mainstream music technology over the last year or so, plus a look at advances in accessible music notation. So firstly, some highlights from the Audio Developer Conference as selected by blind musician Guillaume Leon. So if we could play my video, please.
This year, I have been very, very fortunate to be invited to the Inclusive Design and Accessibility Workshop during the Audio Developer Conference 2024. And I just wanted to point out some of the highlights that stood out to me. So this was about 3-hour-long workshop, so there was quite a lot of ground covered. We started off with some introductions from all the panelists, of course. We went on to an overview of the social model of disability, and some discussion about the importance of accessibility in mainstream audio technology and why we should design inclusively, and some guidelines for best practices for inclusive design as well. So then after a little break, we had a couple of case studies. We first saw Ableton. We saw AD speaking about what Ableton has learned after investing in accessibility and after working directly with their community during the development of Live 12 and the Push 3 and the Move. And we actually saw a little demonstration of the Move. So Andre did a short but very intense demonstration of the Ableton Move and the accessibility features. The second case study was from Arkana and how they built their company around inclusive design with the development of the Arkana Strum, which is a fully inclusive and fully accessible instrument. And at the very end of the workshop, we just had some time for Q&A with all of the panelists.
So here's a clip from the Ableton Move demo by musician Andre Louis, with explanation from Ableton's accessibility specialist, Adi Dickens.
So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a window that has a visual camera over the top of the Move device. So this is the new hardware device that we have. It is portable and usable everywhere. And you're also seeing a page on the Move Manager, which is our screen reader page. So somebody would connect their Move to a Wi-Fi, connect their machine or phone or whatever they want to use the Move Manager on, also to the same Wi-Fi. And then you get this constant feed on the screen reader page of what you're touching, what you're handling, and everything that you're doing on there.
And this works with Braille as well. So if you're not a speech user, then this works with Braille. I tested it with a Braille display as well.
Awesome.
So because it's just, plain text on the screen, it's not talking directly to the screen reader as some things do. So there's the benefit of this. Now, I'm going to do a thing. So let's go find us a kit.
Perk Spirit Kit. Perk Spirit Kit. Back 1 of 10.
So just to explain here, when
2 of 10.
Move starts up with a new set and you go into a new set, you get given 4 instruments that are just randomized. Every time you start a new set, 4 different instruments on 4 tracks. And so we'll go into each one and we'll create something. Maybe a drum beat is first then, Andre.
Yeah. So what I can do is make sure that I'm not in record mode, and I'm just going to play something now. And that means when I've done playing, I can press the capture button. So I'm going to pick a tempo.
Capture 53.5 BPM. Menu item 1 of 2.
And now see, it's 55.
Metronome on.
But I don't like how it did that at all. So I'm going to redo it. And this is the fun thing. You can make something happen however you want it to happen.
Clip deleted.
So here's our tempo. Let's speed it up a little bit. Here we go. So this time, instead of capturing the way that I did, I'll actually hit record and play a beat this way. It's so many different ways of getting the idea down. There's nothing wrong with either way.
Back to those options.
That'll do. So now I can hit the old quantize key, which is quite useful in this situation.
Hit 100% quantized. Battery 60. Wi-Fi Marriott Convoy get. Quantize. Counted on. Next step grid 1/32. Submenu 2 of 4.
So here, the quantize is actually set wrong. It's set to 1/32. It should be 16ths. So because I was playing slightly ahead of the beat, I'm going to...
Step grid 1/16. Menu item 2 of 6. Step grid kick shuffle.
And you see the screen reader has announced everything I've done.
Clip 100% quantized. Kick shuffle.
See, that's really cool now. So we have a nice beat here. But there's a load of sounds here that I may not want to keep. So I thought we could do a little bit of audience participation and have a live thing going on. So I'm going to hit this sample button here. And what I'm going to do is give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1. And I want everybody to either, well, let's pick, we'll do 2. We'll do 1 clap and 1 hey, all right? So the first one will be a clap. So after 3, I'm going to have everybody clap in the room. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Let's see it.
6.
That's you guys. And now I can use that in my track by doing this. Sick.
Clip overdone. Clip 100%
All right.
quantized.
And this one, we're going to make the hey, because I don't really want that sample. There is a stick click, all right? So again, 3, 2, 1. Hey! Nice.
Set 1 wet 7.
So it's a bit...
Transpose 0 saint. Transpose 0 saint.
There we go. So basically, I just set the start point of the sample. And it's a little bit clipped. So there we go. Let's bring it in like this. Yeah.
Clip 100%.
There we go.
And here's where Andre gets to within just a few minutes.
Let's go.
Clip 100%. Start this also.
So you can have, yeah. All good, all good.
You'll be able to watch the full demo and workshop on the Audio Developer Conference YouTube channel, premiering on the 26th of May. Now, hot off the press from Native Instruments is a brief sneak peek at their NI Accessibility Helper app working with the newest range of Complete Control Mark III keyboards. The app, originally designed alongside Machine, allows a connected computer to describe the functions of hardware as you use it. This is now in beta test for the control keyboards and releasing soon.
Browser. Plugin. Reverse 56%. Play assist. Main. Note repeat.
Native Instruments are excited about the potential of the app to make your hardware synths accessible. By creating MIDI templates for your hardware and using your Control Mark III keyboard as a controller, the app will read out the labels you've given parameters and controls within these templates. We're excited to see this released soon. I also wanted to give a shout out to the developments that have happened in the music notation world in recent months. The MuseScore Studio team have continued to optimize the app for blind users, and you can see a tutorial about how to access all the basic features using a screen reader at soundwithoutsight.org.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Note C5
That was Control Left to get to the beginning. Space. We'll play it.
Space. Space.
Really exciting music. There's only 4 notes there. Let's add a few more.
Note B. Rest quaver.
Rate, rest, quaver or quaver. I now need 2 semiquavers or 16th notes. So that's the number 3.
3.
And I'm going to type CD.
CD.
And then there's a crotchet or quarter note C.
5. C.
And then a crotchet rest.
They've also recently added style templates for modified stave notation, also known as large print music, developed in collaboration with RNIB, the Royal National Institute of Blind People, which allows low vision musicians to instantly display scores in larger, clearer styles for easier reading, whether that's in the app or for printing to hard copy. Finally, the Sound My Braille app, or SMB, has continued to improve its automated transcription of music XML files into Braille, opening up the availability of music in Braille. You can watch a full demo of the SMB app at soundwithoutsight.org.
I've imported that into SoundMy. I'm pressing Control T, which is also on the Tools menu. Control T is the shortcut key for Translate.
Control T. 0%. The document is ready to view.
And it's as quick as that. Go to the beginning of the file and let's have a quick read. So on the screen, I believe are Braille dots. I can't read them, but on my Braille display, I can read them.
So those clips featured the voice of James Bowden, Braille Technical Officer at RNIB, and you can find the full demos at the Sound Without Sight website. So thank you all for listening to my section. If you would like to get in contact, I'm jay@soundwithoutsight.org. And I'm going to hand back to Haim now to talk a bit about a special collaboration with the company Bettermaker.
Thank you, Jay. Great work there. Always happy to see you getting all the info together there from the conferences at the ADC. And it was a great 3 hours on ADC 2024. And I hope to see you.
Excited for that workshop to be out.
Yeah, it was an amazing workshop. And now I'd like to introduce the collaboration between the MASSIG group and Bettermaker, a project that we did for the NAMM show, the recent NAMM show in 2025. About 9 weeks before the NAMM show, we reached out to Bettermaker, to Mark Walazek, the CEO of Bettermaker, discussed of doing this kind of demo. And as you can imagine, 9 weeks before the NAMM show, every company that's displaying their new products there are scrambling to roll out their products. They're very busy. The dev teams are busy, and the marketing is busy. But Marek is very passionate about accessibility. Bettermakers have clients who are visually impaired, and Marek was very interested in working together to make their products accessible for everyone. And he freed up resources of developers. We got together a team of developers from the MASSIG group. We have Sam Pruce, who's a developer and a technologist, and he helped Bettermaker make their products more accessible for people who are visually impaired. Bettermaker, they make high-end analog mixing gear for studios. We thought it would be amazing to get together and do something really fast for the NAMM show. Athan Bilius led the team, kept us focused on a few achievable targets that we can demo for the NAMM show, and we got to work in developing something special. We added voice commands to the Bettermaker products. In this case, we used their Valve analog EQ. This EQ has a digital component, a plugin that controls it. So we had a plugin running in Ableton Live and our voice control system running in the background in Python, receiving commands and translating those commands into MIDI commands that would be sent out to the analog gear. So we used OpenAI voice to text engine, took that text, parsed it, and then tried to figure out what commands and what variables the user intended to change. If it's controlling frequency, the gain, and other features of the Bettermaker hardware. And these commands would then be translated into MIDI commands with the associated values and sent to the instrument. So this worked extremely well. We then built another component for speech feedback. So when an engineer would change settings on the hardware itself, like move the gain knob or set different frequencies. These would be translated into MIDI commands that would be sent into an app running locally on the Mac. And in this case, it was just a Chrome browser window listening for MIDI commands. So when a knob was moved, MIDI commands would be sent out, and these MIDI commands would be translated to speech. Here's a quick demo of these features. For example, if I change the low boost.
Low boost set to 5.1.
Or if I change the frequency of the high boost.
High boost frequency set to 5 kilohertz.
So there's voice feedback. And we've added specific features that are useful for visually impaired producers or engineers, that you can make the voice messages shorter and even set the speed of speech.
Low boost 2.9. Low cut 3.3. High boost 4 kilohertz.
And if you pair that up with the voice commands, you get feedback of changes that are made. So for example, set the gain to minus 3.2.
Gain minus 3.2 dB.
Set the low cut to 2.
Low cut 2.
Curve 5.
High boost curve 5.
We were very fortunate that Stevie Wonder came by our booth at the NAMM show. He has Better Maker hardware in his studio, so this is a great addition to his workflow. He doesn't have to be assisted by his engineer for these kinds of mixing tasks. And hopefully these features, as we look into the future, would be implemented in other products, other production products, and studio gear to make them accessible for everyone. And now I'd like to show the Arkana Strum, the inclusive music instrument designed by my company, Arkana Instruments. It's a MIDI instrument that was designed to be accessible by everyone. It started as a hackathon for a 12-year-old girl with cerebral palsy who wanted to learn to play guitar. Her classmates at the time were learning piano and flute and guitar, and her dream was to perform with them on stage. But unfortunately, she couldn't play traditional instruments. She has very limited movements in her hands and fingers. But her teacher noticed that she has very fine control over her motorized wheelchair and thought, why don't we create a MIDI instrument for this girl to pursue her passion? On the right here, you can see Yuval. He's used to play guitar. He had a work-related spinal injury that inhibits him from playing his guitar, but he's able to play the Arkana Strum and get back to his passion of playing music. We created many prototypes before we created the Strum, tested it out, and wanted to create a real instrument that has expression. So one hand does strumming and the other hand selects chords. And after a few months, Gil performed on stage with her class. And this was a real pivotal moment for us that led us to create an off-the-shelf accessible music instrument. We went for about a 2-year research looking for what's available out there for people with disabilities, what kind of solutions are out there. Most music instruments were simplified instruments and toys and not actual music instruments. And other solutions were still very hard to control for people with physical disabilities. Many instruments that are easy to play and fun still have many small buttons and controls that you really need fine motor skills, motor dexterity to control them and play. So they weren't an adequate solution for Gil and others. We looked at what kind of controls are already out there, assistive devices that people with disabilities are using in their daily lives, and try to get inspiration from that to create our instruments. And we took these prototypes and went out for beta testing with people ages 5 to 95 with different abilities and disabilities in different environments to see what works and what needs to be changed. Here's a short video of the final instrument. Here are some of the accessibility features that we designed and incorporated in the instrument. So the instrument is designed to fit between the handles of a standard wheelchair, so people can play with the instrument on their lap. The instrument has guitar strap buttons on the sides, just like a guitar, so you could put a strap and prevent the instrument from falling from your lap. It could also be fixed to a table or desk for making it stable for people who have involuntary movement. The buttons are very big, like elevator buttons. You can control them with your thumb, and there's enough spacing so that you don't hit other buttons by mistake. The strum was designed to be high contrast, black and white, so people with visual impairment can easily see the controls and buttons and what settings are on. And it's very durable. We did drop testing from a meter and a half, made sure that the instrument keeps on playing and everything is intact, because sometimes the instrument gets thrown around by mistake. So we made sure that it's very, very durable. The strum stick, we call it the handle that you use to strum the stick, you can actually feel strings within the handle, and the tension is adjustable. So you can set it to very soft, like harp strumming, or if you want accurate strumming, you can tighten it up and play arpeggios. And it's also, it helps people who have less motor control reach the intended strings with less frustration of playing unintended strings. The keypad, which we use to select chords, is you can pivot it and adjust it to different hand positions, and it could also be totally pivoted to 180 degrees, so you can play either with your left hand or right hand. And we created add-on accessories that you can use to replace the standard handle that could be fit for different musicians. And this actually helps many people play. So if an instrument is in a school setting, it's not only for 1 or 2 students and can be played by almost anyone. There are handles with Velcro straps, a joystick-like handle, which you could use just to put your hand inside if you can't open your fist, a small ball handle, and we also provide 3D files for people who want to create custom handles. One of our clients in Texas Children's Hospital took these plans and is now planning printing a specific handle for a student who wants to play. So it's very hackable. You could also replace the keys with bigger keys to play with your fists or with your elbow, and it also turns the instrument into a beginner instrument, either for beginners or for people with cognitive disabilities who have difficulty remembering or learning the 5-key system. The Arkana Strum can connect to standard accessibility switches. We have this box that you could just plug in the standard switches that people use to control their wheelchair or other devices. So you could just unplug your wheelchair, plug it into this expansion box, and play the Arkana Strum. We also created a sensor for people who cannot control the strum stick, the handle. So it's an infrared proximity sensor that you could just hover your hand over, and that will simulate the strumming. We also wanted to make it easy to learn and easy to teach. So we created a musical method, a color-coded and number-coded method. These are just some of the chords that you can play. So you put your fingers on the keys and strum away, and you can play any song. And we designed the chords in such a way that you can play the C major scale with one finger. So if you press, you can press 2 keys together to create different chords, and with one finger you can create many chords. This is, for example, how Let It Be looks like with the Arcana notation. We like to show this to demonstrate that songs are very easy, that instruments are complex. So these are the original chords of Let It Be, and you can just play it with one finger with one hand and strum with the other. You can also play melodies and solos. There are fixed scales for beginners or for people who just want to have fun with the instrument and jam. So there's like a fixed blues scale that you can play, and someone can play guitar blues patterns, and you can just play solos without playing out of tune and put your energy and expression into the playing and your rhythm, and just play blues or other great sounding scales. For people who want to play the instrument and take it to a more professional level, you can even select it to be a chromatic guitar, and you can play 2.5 octaves with the keys and with the strum stick, and take it to the next level if you wish, if you want to practice and progress to be a professional musician. We created tools to create these music notations, the Arcana notations, and also collaborated with Midiable, the video platform that we're using now for this webinar, to create live animation for remote teaching. So a teacher can be in one side of the globe and a student can be on the other side of the globe, and they can work together to learn songs and learn music, and without having to fuss around with the camera. And so if the teacher wants to see what the student is playing, he sees exactly what the student is doing, and the student sees what the teacher is doing, and they can learn music together over this amazing video platform. And it's all with the help of MIDI that's being transmitted between the student and the teacher. And there's also a MIDI sampler that's playing in the browser, so the music is transmitted with the MIDI commands. So that also makes the learning experience accessible for people who are not as mobile independent as many others who can just get on their bicycle and go to a music school. So that's the Arkana Strum. And next up, we'll hear from Mike Kent from the MIDI Association Executive Board. Hi, Mike.
That's Haim. So I'm the chairman of the MIDI 2 working group, and I'm on the executive board of the MIDI Association. So just like to tell you a bit about the things that we're doing. First of all, MIDI 1.0 is really great. It's been with us for 40 years and will continue. MIDI 2.0 is a new extension that's starting to appear in products now, and you'll see more in 2026 and 2027 and then years ahead. MIDI 2.0 will grow and become more and more a part of the MIDI ecosystem. Backwards compatibility and all of that, so MIDI 1.0 products continue. But MIDI 2.0 provides a wide new space for new innovation that can go on in the realm of MIDI. And we know that when we make products more accessible, they become more usable for all users. And so MIDI 2.0, we think that's true. And so MIDI 2.0, one of the foundational ideas is relying on bidirectional connections. MIDI 1.0 is a system fundamentally unidirectional. One device sends a command to another. But in MIDI 2.0, this bidirectional connection is made. So devices and systems can have increased auto configuration. Devices can talk to each other and figure out how they should configure to work together. It also then provides mechanisms for feedback or confirmation of things that are happening within the MIDI realm. And so bidirectionality is important. In MIDI 2.0, we also have this idea of profiles. And one of the goals of the MASSIG is to define a MIDI 2 profile where devices can declare or discover accessibility features. So a device could say to another, I can do this kind of function, for example, text to voice or something like that. And so discoverability through a MIDI 2.0 profile might be something that we're able to bring in the years ahead. New MIDI messages can be defined in MIDI 2.0. So for example, I just recently put forward a proposal for a way to transfer text to a voice reader over a MIDI connection. So a device that is a MIDI device might have these accessible functions built in, so we can transfer text for commands and so on. Also, we could retrieve help or text files from a device. So a device, you could perhaps press a help button and retrieve a file from another device that's maybe in context of what you're doing with that device at the moment. So MIDI 2.0 opens up this world of possibilities and new innovations, and brings the innovations that are already happening in accessibility in computers and so on, and we want to bring them to the MIDI world and how MIDI communicates. So MIDI 2.0 is a big part of the way we as the MIDI Association see our ability to help in accessibility. But the MIDI Association has a concerted effort to try and assist in this area. And so MIDI Association is a nonprofit trade association. Our primary task is to create and publish MIDI specifications. And so we have a goal to develop some specifications specifically aimed at enabling and increased accessibility. And so one of the things that we're very happy to do is to host the Music Accessibility Standard Special Interest Group. It's a long name, so we just call it MASSIG for short. But we host the MASSIG. We have weekly 1-hour video conference meetings. And if you'd like to join those, if you'd like to participate and contribute to the work that we're doing, please join us, contact us and join us. We have discussion forums so that in between meetings, we're not doing nothing. We're able to communicate through an online forum. The MIDI Association, we also provide budget for events. We attend the NAMM show with a booth, and part of our booth, we have displays of accessibility products. Haim was showing some of the Better Maker demos that we had at NAMM show in January 2025, and we're back in 2026 with something similar. We participate in half a dozen or more events around the world every year. ADC in London is one that you saw something about, the Audio Developers Conference, where we're trying to share ideas with the people who develop audio and MIDI products. We also sent representatives to the Able Assembly convention in Boston. So these events we're participating in. On behalf of the executive board of the Media Association, we're happy to provide these resources and budget to do these things. And so we invite you to participate and contribute. You can learn all about us at MIDI.org. www.midi.org is the website, and there's contact information there to get in touch with us. And so we would welcome your participation. We have a group of, core group of about 10 or 12 people so far, and there's room for more people. And there's a lot of work that we can get done, and we can get done more if you will join us and help out. I think that kind of brings us to the end of our agenda here. I turn it back to Haim to close things up. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you everybody for giving us these great insights. I'd like to open just a few minutes for a Q&A. If anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and we could, if you want to ask anybody. And this webinar will also be uploaded to YouTube and the MIDI Association's YouTube channel. So feel free to comment there, ask questions there, and we'll get those answered. There's a question from Leon. This is going to sound controversial, but is music creation just a physical thing for the panel?
What does the question mean? Is part of the question actually? Is it just a physical thing? I think that there are technologies coming that allow us to communicate and create perhaps in ways that are not quite as physically don't require the completely physical input. Musical instruments, traditionally have been instruments that you interact with in a physical manner and control through physical motion and gestures of your body. And I think that there are new technologies coming that expand the ability to access the ability to create music or other art through other means. It's not my area of expertise, but I feel pretty good about the future in that area.
Yeah, and there's composing and there's performing. So you don't have to perform the music to play the music. You can compose, use MIDI editors, use AI, use different tools to express yourself. And it's not necessarily to execute a live performance for your music and expression to get out there.
Yeah, I'd like to point out also that really before the advent of MIDI, creating music was a real-time thing. You had to perform music in order to create music. And through computers and so on, we can create music in non-real time, entering music and then having the computer assemble that and then play it. And so that opens up the possibilities for computer music, what Japan calls desktop music, where you can enter notes in non-real time and still express yourself. And MIDI's a key foundation of enabling that kind of creative ability as well.
Point about the creation of MIDI in 1983, it actually enabled this kind of composition and creation in a non-linear timeline. So yeah.
I mean, I thought that there's another thought to add, I suppose, to add to that in terms of there's lots of non-physical ways, but the other kinds of barriers that people face when making music are not about the instrument as well. And so, instruments are a really important part, and the tech is a really important part. There's also the kind of social component. If you can't physically get into the recording studio, then that's a massive barrier. There are many other barriers to making music that need to go along, along with the kind of hardware and software that we're developing here. And really, it's the whole package needs to be fixed in order to enable people to really be on a level playing field with this stuff. So I think there's a lot more than just the kind of stuff that we tend to do to be done to make it really
and certainly video conferencing could be a big part of that as well. And so remote collaboration is enabled through platforms like the one we're using to record on here. This is called Midiable, and it sends video and professional quality audio and MIDI over the internet. And so people can work from home in all environments these days, and that is now applying to creating music as well. And so that breaks down some barriers in terms of time and effort required to get together with other musicians. Music is a great team sport where you could create music on your own, but boy, is it a lot of fun to create music with other people. And so I love to see enabling tools like this platform allowing remote collaboration.
Yeah, and I think as well, just the point around different kind of instruments or input devices suit different user groups. There's like the doubler microphone, for example, which just uses your voice and converts that into MIDI in real time. That can be a real enabler for some users. Something like the clarion instrument, which you can play with your eyes or with very simple gestures, that could be really useful for some users as well. And all of these things use MIDI. So yeah, it's doesn't have to be a kind of very kind of physical instrument in the traditional sense. There are many ways that you can translate your ideas into MIDI data effectively.
Great. So thanks, Tim, Mike, and Jay for joining. I hope this is the first of many webinars on accessibility. There are certainly many teams, developers, musicians, and engineers that are working on creating these kinds of accessibility solutions. And we'd be happy to host them here and get up to date with everything on music and accessibility. And before we wrap up the show, I urge you to visit the MASSIG webpage to catch up with the latest news and events in music and accessibility. A lot of interesting stuff there. You could also sign up to the newsletter, get the information directly to your inbox once a month. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Haim.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.